All right, welcome in for today's episode. Let's go ahead and put the bow on the 2025-2026 NFL season, and that's going over last night's Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks taking down the New England Patriots. Final score 29-13. Where do we start? Let me go ahead and start where I was wrong last night. I did have the Patriots. I thought this would be a field goal game, a game that the Patriots did have a chance to win, and their defense showed that throughout the whole game. I mean, they only allowed one offensive touchdown to the Seattle Seahawks, but it was the Patriots' offensive line and Drake May that struggled once again. We did talk about it, that they did come into this Super Bowl kind of limping, kind of just barely getting by every single game, going against the best defenses in the league, mainly the Houston Texans. Luckily for the Patriots, the Texans have a even more of an imbecile quarterback in CJ Stroud than Drake May. Also, the Denver Broncos, who are playing with a backup quarterback, but also lost the game they probably should have won. Denver should have won that game. I'm sure Sean Payton was one of the most upset people last night because he knows their Broncos team was much better than this Patriots team, except Bo Nix decided to celebrate in the locker room, twist his ankle, break his ankle, and they weren't able to advance past the Patriots with home field advantage. But we got to give credit to this Seattle Seahawks defense. They did what they needed to. They played a pretty disciplined game for the most part. They only allowed the 2 touchdowns to the Patriots, but also forced 3 fumbles, or excuse me, they forced 3 turnovers against the Patriots and Drake May. Tiny hands Drake May had a fumble that led to a Seattle, I believe that was a Seattle field goal. And no, I think that was the touchdown from AJ Barner. And then he had a deep interception after the Patriots were kind of getting a drive together. Drake May throws a random deep pass to really absolutely nobody, and Seattle picks it off. And then again, Drake May gets hit. The ball was going to go as it was going to fall as an incomplete pass, but Nwosu catches it. Defensive touchdown for Seattle. Pretty much put the end to the Super Bowl dreams of the New England Patriots and Drake May. So I was wrong. I thought Drake May would have a much better game, but he seemed to just have not happy feet, but what I would call concrete feet. There was wide receivers open. We'll be going over the film immediately after I'm finished filming this. We'll be jumping into the film, hopefully be able to go through the whole game tonight. But you could see there's wide receivers open for Drake May, but he just has concrete feet and he's afraid to get sacked. And he's afraid to fumble with those tiny hands. And that's exactly what happened. He fumbled, and the turnovers from Drake May basically cost him the game. Also, I was disappointed in Josh McDaniels, who did call, I would say, an extremely conservative game. There was times where the Patriots had short yardage situations and they didn't go for it. That some of that's on Vrabel, who was coach of the year. You would think he would be a little bit more aggressive with the stakes this high, and knowing the Patriots are an underdog, not so much a betting underdog, but they weren't expected to win the game. Seattle's a 5-point favorite, so you're already behind the sticks coming into this game. So we expected more of Vrabel, at least I did. And again, we're gonna look at the tape, and there was some openings, some players were wide open for Drake May, but he just couldn't let go of the football, and he just continued to take sacks. Of course, he had a Nerf head left guard with the giant Astro helmet. Maybe he's a little bit too tight on his head. He couldn't block. Will Campbell, who I've never been high on, and we've broken down the film at least against when the Patriots played the Raiders week 1. He couldn't block a soul. Same happened last night. False starts, couldn't block. The officiating in the game was pretty clean. I think we only got a couple penalties, and they were pretty blatant. I believe a block in the back, a couple false starts, maybe one holding, I believe, on Seattle for a long touchdown run, which kept the game under the total, which was good for us. But again, this was a great performance from Seattle. But at the same time, Darnold's going to get all this praise. Kubiak's going to get all this praise. But let's be honest. The Seattle Seahawks offense was held to only one offensive touchdown. They had to settle for field goals all night, and maybe they could have played more aggressive if the Patriots were kind of keeping pace, but they really weren't, not even with field goals. It was not a great game for the Patriots offensively, of course, but I would also make the argument that it wasn't a great offensive game from Seattle either. Sam Darnold, yes, he got the job done. He picked up, let's see what they were on third down. Seattle was 4 of 16 on third down. And when you look at the Patriots, they're 6 of 15 on third down. Seattle was kind of poor. This was not a great game from Seattle by any means. This is how bad the Patriots played. They couldn't move the football. And when they did move the football, they turned the ball over. Seattle only 20 first downs. Patriots had 18. They basically had the same amount of yardage. Seattle with 335 total yards. Patriots with 331 total yards. So everything was almost identical down the board. Although the one main difference was Kenneth Walker III finally getting the bulk of the carries for a third game in a row. And he's showing why he should be a bell cow back in this league. But I don't really hate, that Charbonnet does get some carries. But at the end of the day, Kenneth Walker III is one of the best running backs in this league. And this playoff run this year he really got to showcase that to the world who didn't really know who he was. So MVP totally deserved it. Although I thought the kicker should have, I think Jason Myers, I think he should have got the MVP, but I don't mind. I believe Kenneth Walker had 135 yards rushing, 27 carries. So that's a pretty great game from a running back that basically held it down for the offense. You had Smith and Jigba, who had a great season, one of the best seasons from wide receiver, especially a Seahawks wide receiver, but he was injured, kind of banged up his ankle. He was pretty much shut down the entire game. You got to give credit to Christian Gonzalez. He played amazing for the Patriots defensively. Should have had an interception, maybe 2 interceptions that probably could have kept this game closer. Saved, I believe, at least take a field goal off the board. We could play ifs and what ifs all day, but at the end of the day, Seattle got the job done. It wasn't the prettiest. I would put this down as one of the worst Super Bowls of all time, right next to Seattle Broncos, last year's 49ers Eagles, as well as the Rams Patriots. This is right up there. Total stink fest. There was hardly any entertainment at all other than watching Drake May get annihilated. So Patriots haters, they're having a ball. But again, I expected more from Sam Darnold. He did just enough to get the job done. And because of how poor Drake May played, nobody's really going to remember how Sam Darnold was pretty average, had one great throw to AJ Barner, great play design by Kubiak. I'm really looking forward to seeing Kubiak with the Las Vegas Raiders. That's not a done deal yet, but it seems like everything's in place other than leaving the ink to dry. So that'll be interesting. Where does New England go from here? To me, they do whatever it takes to get an offensive line, especially on the left side. They did make a terrible draft pick with Will Campbell. I've been saying this, but there's nothing you could do. You can't go back in time. At least now they know what they need. Drake May, the talent's there, but his hands aren't going to grow overnight. Maybe he could work out and get some hand strength, but the fumbling and the turnovers are a problem. Now the Patriots won't have an easy last place schedule and have a cakewalk to the Super Bowl. Next year they'll have a first place schedule and it's going to be much tougher than it was this season. So I hope the Patriots fans and Drake May enjoy it this year because I don't think it's going to get any easier for them down the line. Their GM has a lot of work to do. I really don't like anything about their recent draft picks, so it's going to be interesting to see where the Patriots go from here. For the Seattle Seahawks, they play in probably the best division in football right now. They're going to lose their offensive coordinator, and with Sam Darnold, is he going to be able to replicate this performance, this type of season? Yes, he did it last year with Minnesota, but he crashed and burned in the playoffs. This year, he was able to just keep it pretty average. He really didn't pop off the screen to me at all in these playoffs. He really didn't have to, especially after the defense did all the dirty work and special teams against the 49ers. 49ers in a terrible spot playoff wise, schedule wise, and then they win in a shootout against the Rams in a game that could have gone either way. He made the plays, the defense made the plays, but all in all, I'm not that impressed with Sam Darnold, but he did win. He's now a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and that's more than some people can say in NFL history. Regarding the halftime show, I really don't care either way. Yeah, honestly, I don't even want to get into it. I really don't care. But this was a terrible game to watch. It was not entertaining whatsoever. We know the AFC was down. So all the people that hated to see the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes kind of wish they were there on Sunday to make this game a little bit more entertaining, because I thought it was awful. You know, I'm not a Josh Allen fan, but I think even the Bills could have put something better together. I'm not a Ravens fan. I'd rather see the Patriots than the Ravens. I really think this should have been the Texans in the Super Bowl. CJ Stroud, he's got a lot of work to do. He cut his hair. Maybe that helps. But I believe either the Broncos or Texans should have made it to the Super Bowl. This Patriots team was a little fraudulent all season. And then it came down to the very end of the end of the season in the Super Bowl, where they were finally exposed for what they truly were. And that was a great defense that improved all season, but they lack an offensive line. Drake May has incredible talent, except if he doesn't have a clean pocket, his tiny hands will fumble the football and also panic throw interceptions. So not good. All in all, this was a fun Super Bowl because it culminates the ending of the season. It was terrible to watch. By fun, I mean you should enjoy it with your friends and family, but the product on the field was pretty awful. We'll get into more regarding the upcoming offseason, the new coaches and new homes, as well as free agency and the draft this coming summer. But this is our last NFL video until UFL kicks back up, and then we'll have some more football to talk about. But until then, thanks for liking, subscribing, trolling, and we'll see y'all for the next one. Let me know what y'all think about the Super Bowl and how y'all how y'all spent it, if y'all enjoyed it, didn't enjoy it, about the Super Bowl halftime. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what y'all think. But other than that, we'll see y'all next time.